Welcome to Thriver's Ed, the podcast that's all about giving you the practical, no-nonsense advice you need to level up your life and business. I'm your host, Marcy Rossi, success coach, business strategist, and alcohol-free enthusiast. If you're ready to crush your goals, optimize your productivity, and live your best, most authentic life, then you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into topics like the psychology of success, practical strategies to boost your performance, and the unexpected ways living alcohol-free can elevate your life. Whether you're looking to boost your business, improve your health, or simply become a better version of yourself, Thriver's Ed is here to help you do just that. So grab your iced coffee, buckle up, and let's get thriving. Welcome back to Thriver's Ed. Today we are talking about your web host. So where is it that your website is actually built on? So these are things like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Kajabi, System.io, Showit, etc. So where is your website actually built on? And specifically, I want to look at Squarespace. A lot of my clients use Squarespace. I would imagine it's about like 2/3 of my clients use Squarespace. And there are some really incredible things that Squarespace does for especially small business owners. And there are also some problems, right? Like I've said before, there is no perfect software. And so if you don't already have a website, then this episode can help you understand if Squarespace is right for you. If you do already have your own website built on a different web host, but you don't really love it, this episode can help you understand if a move to Squarespace is worth your time. And I'm just going to preface this by saying that moving a website is a lot of work, so it needs to be a really good reason. So really, the benefit of this episode is if you don't have a website and you're considering where you should have it, we want to make that decision right from the start. Because like I said, it is really challenging and time-consuming and often expensive to move everything over to a different platform. So let's make sure you're started on the right foot. And if you've been considering Squarespace, let's take a look at what exactly that would mean for you. So I'm going to talk about the good and the bad, really. So first step, the good. It is really easy to use. Like it's a drag and drop, moving things over. So it's really good for people who are not designers, who want to just take a pretty template and kind of switch out the colors, switch out the images and make it work for them. There is a very clear and easy onboarding process. Like it'll ask you some questions about your business and suggest templates that are good for you. And speaking of those templates, there are a ton of templates. I think there's like over 180 some odd templates that look pretty good. Like Squarespace is a pretty modern platform. So a lot of their templates still look good today, whereas I use Wix and there's a lot of templates in there that are very clearly dated. Same thing with System.io. There's some really pretty ones and then there's some really dated templates. So Squarespace has some really polished templates that look great right out of the box. I think the only one that really beats it is Showit. I think Showit has the absolute prettiest templates of anybody, but Showit has its own host of pros and cons. If we're just looking at Squarespace and you want a very simple, easy template that's drag and drop, Squarespace is right for you. The templates are mobile responsive. So when you design something, for example, in the desktop version and you go over to the mobile, it's going to adjust it to fit the mobile. Now that said, we always want to go in there and adjust it because it's not going to do things perfectly, right? It's going to have some overlap if we didn't design things in the exact right way. So we always want to take a look at our mobile version and make sure that it works well. But what you don't have to do is create a desktop version and start from scratch with a mobile version. It's going to do that for you. You don't need to mess with a separate web host. So if you have a WordPress site, you need to have someone to host that WordPress. It could be WordPress itself. It could be a company like Bluehost. There's a lot of different web hosting platforms out there, but this is built in with Squarespace. It's where you design things and it's what hosts your website. So like holds all of the data and files. Squarespace is a very secure, stable platform. It has a really strong uptime. The pages load very quickly. And these are all really good things, both for you and for the people that visit your site. It has blogging built right into it, right? So a lot of platforms have this, but just so that you're aware, they have a blogging and they have e-commerce built right in. They have forms and they even have scheduling because they have a partnership with Acuity. So if you end up using Acuity for your scheduling, there is a native integration there to make that a lot easy for you. And what they also have is email marketing and membership tools if you want to use those. Now, I personally recommend using tools built for that particular purpose. So Squarespace is built for websites. It's not built for email marketing. It's also not necessarily built for commerce. They do have this, but there's, especially if you want to sell things like memberships or courses or some of these other things, a platform built for that is going to serve you better. But if you want everything one and done, which is that customization versus convenience factor, Squarespace does offer all of that for you. They have some built-in SEO tools, right? So you can add your meta descriptions, you can add titles, you can add some of these pieces so that if people are searching it on Google, it can actually be found and it can, use the language that you want it to use. They have the ability to add announcement bars and pop-ups, only if you're on the core plan or higher, but announcement bars are that at the very top of the page. They're usually like a bright color and it's whatever it is that you want to promote. And I have to imagine that this day and age, you're familiar with what a pop-up is, but these are things where you don't require additional software. They are native right there in the platform. They also have 24/7 email support, and they have like a help center. And I've seen this before. If you Google a problem, there are people out there that will help you fix the problem. Like you tell them their website and you say, I'm trying to make X, Y, and Z happen. And they will tell you kind of how to fix it. And this is a good lead in into the bad, I would say, quote unquote, of Squarespace, or where I find that it falls short. And the fact that I have to Google these things, or that people have to Google these things of how to fix it, shows that there are problems with the platform that people are experiencing, or limitations, let's put it that way, that Squarespace can give you a workaround to fix, but doesn't actually fix. So number one on those is the customization. So like I said, they have some really pretty templates, but you are very limited in what you can do with those. So you get to choose a font and a color palette. So you get to choose a heading font and a body font, and you can, set the size. I want H1s to be 60 pixels. I want whatever those things are. And then the colors, you can choose your colors, and then it'll give you, I want to say it's 10 color schemes. It's 8 to 10 color schemes based on the colors that you choose for your website. Now, if you want to have a section that's a different color, too bad. If you want to have like your headings are normally Playfair display and your body is Montserrat, but you want to have like a pretty script for one of your headings, too bad. Like you can fix these things, but it requires coding, and it's not a simple like click. You have to know some CSS to actually make that happen. And for most people, that's just not feasible. I imagine that if you are an expert in coding, meaning you know all of the CSS hacks, you probably wouldn't have used Squarespace to begin with, because it's going to require all that. You probably could have built a website all on your own. But if you went to Squarespace because you don't know how to build a website all on your own, you're going to find that getting it exactly the way you want it is going to be pretty challenging, and will probably require you to hire someone to do it for you, or to make compromises, right? So maybe you can't have that pretty script font, that third heading font, if you don't either pay someone to do the coding or figure out what that coding is for you. Number two is the basic plan is really basic. So I don't recommend really anybody using the basic plan, because it's going to tie your hands quite a bit. I think you need at least the core plan for the website to work well. So if you want to add any custom code to your website, meaning if you want to add a Facebook pixel to your website, if you want to add a Pinterest tag, I don't know what they call it, but to be able to track analytics on Pinterest to your website, if you want to add pop-ups or an announcement bar, any of these kinds of things, really any kind of like embedded third-party integration, you're going to need that core plan or higher. You can't do that on a basic plan. So a basic plan can be very good if really what you need is a simple website. But if you really want this to be your brand's homepage, you want to be able to customize it. You want to add like a podcast player. You want to add a fancy pop-up, like any of these things that you want to do, you're going to need to upgrade. And in particular, if you're going to run Facebook ads, you have to have a pixel on your site. You're going to be throwing money in the garbage if you don't, because Facebook doesn't know what people are doing when they land on your page. And so you absolutely need to make that upgrade so that your campaigns can function at their best ability. So yes, they have a cheaper plan, but to be honest, core is really what, in my opinion, what the basic plan is. The pricing can get quite high. I mean, they offer a lot of times they'll offer discounts, but it can get, it adds up pretty fast. So core right now, I think if you're on the annual plan, they can get discounts as low as $23 a month. but it can increase quite steeply from there. I'm not going to give you all of the numbers there because pricing changes all the time, but we're really thinking at a minimum $23 a month to have an effective site. And then the pricing can get quite steep when you think about all the extras, right? If you want email marketing, that's extras. If you want e-commerce, they will either charge you a transaction fee at certain levels, or you have to upgrade to a higher plan to not have that transaction fee. So those are extras there, right? Thinking about the different additional pieces. The acuity scheduling, that's an additional extra. So we start with a base and then think about all the additional pieces that we'd have to add on. Number 4, it has a really limited app ecosystem. So there are very few native third-party integrations. Like I think there's 40 to 50 native integrations like Acuity and MailChimp. But when we start to go beyond that, if you think of something like WordPress, which has a ton of plugins, like thousands of plugins, or even Wix, where they have 200 plus 300, I don't know how many, but hundreds and hundreds of apps that you can add to your page. If you wanted to add a countdown feature, if you want to add some other integrations that aren't native there, a lot of the times you can use these apps. They're called apps in Wix. They're called plugins in WordPress. In Squarespace, too bad. That's pretty much what they have right now. I don't know of any big expansion plans in the future because, again, the focus of Squarespace is to keep it easy, but easy often means limited, right? So not a lot of customization that you can do there through native app integrations. You can embed code, but again, you need to understand how to add code. Now, this one is something that I have seen online. I can tell you right now, I have not tried this myself, so please don't hold me to this. And again, the whole episode is based on what is feasible in Squarespace right now. Of course, this could change over time. But from my understanding, if you want to move over to another platform later, your pages aren't going to be able to export. You can export your blog post, which is actually there's a plus in there because I can tell you on Wix you can't. On Wix, you also can't really back up your site. You have to just make a copy of your site, which is a total nightmare. So just keeping in mind, moving can be quite problematic. And the other thing here is it doesn't autosave. So make sure that you're going in and saving your pages. Not sure why that's at least not something that I've come across to be able to autosave your pages there. So keep that in mind as you are working through your design. And then the last pet peeve of mine is the mobile version. So in Wix, you get to, how I do it is I design for the desktop and then I will take a look at the mobile version, move things around, change spacing, hide elements that don't make sense on the mobile version, etc. In Kajabi, it's you can still kind of accomplish a lot of the same things, except what you have to do is you have to take your section and duplicate it, and then you will, if you need to make a mobile only change, let's say that you have your heading and it just looks funky on the mobile version in Kajabi, you would duplicate that section and you would make one version desktop only, available only on the desktop, and the other one only available on the mobile. And that way, if you make a bunch of changes in the mobile version, it doesn't reflect on your desktop. So still simple, not as simple as Wix, but still simple to accomplish. In Squarespace, you can't. The only way to really accomplish this is to have, again, some coding there to say that you want something to happen only on the mobile version. Now you can change some things, right? You can change the spacing and the layout. If you need to move sections up or down, you can do that. But let's say you want to have some text only appear on the mobile version. Too bad. Let's say you want the text on the mobile version to be bold and you want it to be what is it? Not bold, whatever standard, whatever the not bold thing is on desktop. Too bad. The only way to accomplish this again is through CSS, which defeats the purpose of Squarespace itself, where things are supposed to be easy. So if you want to have something only appear in the mobile version, you have to basically duplicate a section like you would in Kajabi and then use coding to hide the section that you don't want to appear. And this just gets really complicated and unnecessarily so, in my opinion, considering a lot of other platforms have fixed this. So just keep this in mind. So generally, when should you choose Squarespace? Well, it is very elegant, it's polished, and it's simple. If you don't care that you can only have, 4 or 5 colors, then go for it. If you don't care that you're limited to a number of fonts, you want to drag things together and get a website done, Squarespace can get that for you. If instead you want to have a little bit more flexibility, if you want to be able to add more apps, but you recognize that you can quote unquote mess things up, which I think is why Squarespace limits you. They don't want you to have 500 colors on your webpage because that's not good. It's not quote unquote good design, right? If you recognize that you may mess things up or it may not be perfectly designed, but you want to have the freedom to be able to make that decision for yourself, then Wix is a better choice. If you just want simple, you don't have the time to make the decisions, go with Squarespace. If you want to have a little bit more control, consider something like Wix or one of the other platforms. And we can chat about what platform's best for you. If you want, we can book a consultation and I'm happy to chat through and give you all of my opinions on all of the places. So again, Squarespace is for people who want a site that looks good right now. They don't want to mess with the tech. They don't want to mess with plugins. They don't have a huge, complicated website that they are trying to build. It is not for control freaks, shout out. It's not for people who are scared of coding but still want things to be their way. It's not for really big, like, e-commerce businesses or for people who are on a really shoestring budget because there is no free option on Squarespace. I would recommend playing with this. They do offer a free trial. So if you are investigating a website, it's a big decision. And like I said before, it's really difficult to change and it's going to cost you likely a lot of time and money. So I want you to make the right decision from the start. So give it a test, kick the tires, make sure you like how it is. And I would also recommend playing with some of the other options as well so that you can really get a feel for the benefits and the cons. All right, so your Thriving Vibe for today is just a bunch of like gut check questions to make sure that you know whether or not this is going to be the right thing for you. So number one, do you like being limited by templates or is that going to drive you crazy? And when I say limited, I mean, there's nothing wrong with templates. It can honestly free up so much of that decision fatigue of what things should look like. So do you like playing with templates or is that going to drive you crazy? Number two, is good enough design okay for your business? And when I say good enough, I mean recognizing that it can be really hard to get it exactly the way you want it without some coding. So meaning hiring someone to do it for you and still recognizing that there are limitations even with coding. Is that going to be okay for you? Are you okay with being like 90% satisfied if that 10% isn't exactly the way you want it or whatever those percentages end up being for you? Number three, what features are non-negotiable for you right now? If you know that you need email marketing natively worked in there, keep that in mind. If you know that you want to have an e-commerce store or you want to be able to sell courses or you want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, make sure that that's going to support the things that you already know that you want and need. Number four, are you comfortable with their long-term pricing? You can assume that at some point you're going to upgrade. So if you're on basic and you want to add more to your site, you're probably going to upgrade. If your business grows, and I know we both hope that it does, are you going to be okay with what their long-term pricing model is, looking at what will happen in the future, right? You can see right now what those prices are for the higher plans. Is this something that you think makes sense for you long-term? And the last one, is this platform going to grow with you or are you potentially going to hit a wall? Does its features meet, it's kind of along the lines with number three, but does it have what you at least need right now and what you can imagine needing in the future? So you may not know exactly what you're going to be offering in the future, but if you know you're going to want to offer courses, are you okay with having a separate platform for those courses or would you rather everything already be built in one? So really just getting a picture of what it is that you'd like your business to look like in the future and taking a look to see whether or not Squarespace can actually support this. Again, I know it's hard to do that. I know it's hard to guess what everything is going to look like in the future, but I imagine you have some ideas. And I think this is one of the most important places to stop and ask yourself these questions, really that future planning, because it is so hard to move your website. I've said this several times now in this episode, and that's because it's true. And so I don't want you to be locked into something that is going to be stifling to you. For a lot of people, having fewer options is actually really freeing because they don't have to go through all the decision fatigue, and you know yourself best. If you want to talk through any of these options, I am more than happy to. You can text the show or you can book a free consultation call with me. But that is my quick wrap up on whether Squarespace is potentially right for you. Take a look at it. I always recommend trying things out, letting me know what you think. And until next time, keep thriving.